Hello, and welcome to Own Your Retirement. My name is Albert Lalonde from Kaizen Financial Group. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, give us a call at 586-752-7008 or visit us online at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com. That's Kaizen, Kaizen. And while at my website, click on the podcast page to check out past shows and to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. All right, sandwiched between baby boomers and millennials, Generation X tends to get less attention in the news and pop culture. Well, Generation X consists of those born between the years 1965 and 1980, which means the oldest Generation Xers are getting closer to retirement. Now, in their personal lives, Gen Xers have seen tremendous cultural change. When Gen Xers were kids, cable TV was the height of technology, and their parents, well, they make long-distance calls after 5 p.m. because the rates were cheaper. Remember that. Well, even the youngest Gen Xers were in their teens or 20s when the internet became accessible to most people. Now, it's much the same with retirement. Many Gen Xers had parents who retired with a traditional pension, for example, but traditional pensions have largely gone by the wayside. So on today's show, we're going to discuss the retirement needs of Gen Xers while also talking about retirement in more general terms. Now, before we get into today's topic, though, let me introduce my co-host, Tony Shore, who learned everything he knows about Gen Xers from the film Reality Bites. What's going on, Tony?
Well, actually, I am a Gen Xer,
Yes,
Albert.
so am I.
So I learned, but I'm on the older side of the Gen Xers. You're probably on the younger side. So.
I'm right behind you.
Yeah.
I'm right behind you.
Yep. I think Gen X is from what, 65?
65,
you mentioned it
yep.
there. Yep. To 80.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was born in 66. So I'm right at the beginning of
yes, you are.
You are old. Is that what you're going to watch yourself? Watch your step there, Albert.
All right. I will take pride to my seniors here. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Reality Bites is a great movie, though. I'm glad you mentioned it. And this is a great topic because, as you said, Gen X is kind of forgotten about. We always hear about baby boomers and millennials, right?
Right.
It seems like that's all we hear about. But Gen X, we're starting, a lot of us who are at the beginning of Gen X are headed toward retirement in our mid to late 50s. So
right.
This is important that we start talking about Gen X and where they're at. So where do you want to begin, Albert?
Well, let's begin with an article from the U.S. News and World Report titled, "Will Gen Xers Have to Retire Later Than Previous Generations?" Now, it has some interesting information I like. It begins by asking a simple question. Is Generation X on track for a comfortable retirement? Well, the answer is that, unfortunately, many Gen Xers anticipate a gap between what they've saved for retirement and what they'll need to maintain their preferred lifestyle. Now, those sentiments were shared in a 2023 Gen X retirement readiness survey conducted by Schroders, an asset management firm. And according to that survey, 45% of Gen Xers haven't done any retirement planning at all, and 66% are concerned that they won't be able to sufficiently grow their workplace retirement accounts before retirement. Now, interestingly, the article also notes that many baby boomers had defined benefit pensions at work, but Gen Xers are the first generation that will primarily rely on 401k plans. This means that many workers are on their own like never before when it comes to saving money for retirement, Tony.
Yeah. And the fact that 45% of Gen Xers out there said they'll need, a report having not done any retirement planning, and they're going to need all this money. That's alarming to me. If any of our listeners out there aren't already working with somebody like yourself, Albert, they need to be. Now is the time. I mean, retirement planning isn't something that you want to go it alone on. put someone with experience in your corner. And I know this is what you do every day. I'm only going to go through the retirement process once, and our listeners
Right.
are only hopefully going to retire once. You go through this every single day with your clients and the people you
Yes.
work with, right?
Definitely, definitely. In fact, in the Schroeder survey, Gen Xers said that they'll need about $1.1 million saved to enjoy a comfortable retirement. Yet, on average, they have only about $660,000 saved. Well, certainly a gap, of about $450,000 between expectation and reality, and it's a very serious matter. Yet, even with that alarming gap, Gen Xers have available options to improve both the retirement savings and the retirement readiness. For example, our ability to earn money is less rigid now than it's ever been because far more and more people, the office is wherever your laptop is now. And then consequently, Gen Xers may be able to generate income far longer than previous generations without being tied to an office or even one career.
Yeah. And it does seem like retirement has probably changed because of all the remote work and working from home. It's easy to
Yes.
picture some people never retiring at all because they can maybe work part-time doing something they really enjoy from just about anywhere in the world, right?
Yes, definitely. And remember, during their working lives, Gen Xers have faced some unique financial challenges. Many in this generation had their careers, finances, and lives upended by the dot-com crash at the beginning of the century, then the 2008 financial crisis, and then this pandemic we just had. So those three significant financial disruptions negatively affected many Gen Xers' savings and investments, which has made it harder to build necessary wealth for retirement. Conversely, many baby boomers were able to build significant retirement wealth before one or even all three of those disruptions. And then lastly, Gen Xers have also been saddled with student loan debt and higher living costs, a combo that may force some of them to work longer than they had hoped to in order to claw back some of those financial disruptions.
Well, how can Gen Xers catch up a bit on their retirement savings, Albert?
Yeah, well, perhaps the best move they can make is to max out their employer-sponsored plans and IRAs. Now, if Gen Xers are currently contributing to one of those accounts, it's recommended to max them out and to be aware of the catch-up contributions that are available to only those who are 50 and older. And then finally, Gen Xers need to adequately factor longevity into their retirement plans. Because of rising life expectancy, many Gen Xers will live longer than the baby boomers who came before them. Well, that means they may need to be prepared to work longer so they can build the kind of savings that can see them through a retirement that may last 2 decades or longer. And then I'd recommend that Gen Xers meet with their financial service professional to discuss whether delaying filing for Social Security until age 70, which would give them the largest possible monthly payment, would fit into their overall financial strategy.
Right. And having a financial strategy is the first step, right?
That is key.
That is key. So before we go on, Albert, if our listeners out there have questions about this or want to get a plan in place, how do they do that?
Folks, you can go ahead and give us a call if you want to learn more information about what you're hearing today at 586-752-7008, or visit us online at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com. That's Kaizen, Kaizn. And that way we can answer your questions or even discuss about the Gen X gaps that is existing here.
Yeah. Well, in the first segment, you were talking about rising life expectancies and how Gen X will live longer probably than baby boomers, which
Mm-hmm.
means they need to build enough retirement savings to last at least 2 to 3 decades. So you
Yes.
provided some ways they may be able to catch up on retirement savings if they're running behind. What do you have for us next?
Well, I'd like to spend the rest of this show looking at where other generations are currently at with their retirement savings, and by highlighting ways people of any age may be able to boost their retirement savings. So back to another U.S. News and World Report article titled, "What is the average retirement savings balance by age?" It actually has some insights that I'm eager to discuss, so let's jump right into it. The best information about retirement savings comes directly from the Federal Reserve System. The article shares the Fed's 2022 calculation, the most up-to-date numbers currently available. And as of 2022, the average retirement savings balance broke down as follows. Under 35, the average was $49,000. 35 to 44, the average was $142,000. Ages 45 to 54, $313,000. And then 55 to 64, the average saving was $538,000. From 65 to 74, $609,000. And then 75 and older, the average was $462,000. So for many, the 401k is their largest source of retirement savings. The article shared numbers from Vanguard, one of the country's largest account providers, which found the average current 401k balance for those 25 and younger is $5,200. And for those 65 and older, the balance is about $233,000. So while those numbers are interesting, we have to dig a little deeper to really understand, what does that all mean?
Well, I wonder if that's because there's no concrete savings target. I mean, nobody can say, well, once you have $1 million, you're in the clear, because it depends on lifestyle and goals from everything you've told us. $1 million may be way more than enough for some and not nearly enough for others. Then.
Oh, that is totally right, Tony. In fact, the amount of retirement savings needed is unique to every retiree. With that said, many financial service professionals recommend the following for how much you want to have saved. At 30, that amount is 1 times your average annual salary. At 40, it should be 3 times. And at 50, 6 times your annual salary. Then at 60, it may be helpful to have 8 times your annual salary saved. And then finally at 67, for most people, that's their full retirement age. The age at which many people retire will have to have maybe 10 times your annual salary saved. So if you're alarmed by those numbers because you haven't started saving anything yet, or because you're far behind many in your age group, I'd say don't radically change course. Instead, slowly ramp up how much you're saving in a way that doesn't make it harder to pay your monthly bills. Again, it's very important to work with the financial service professional on your retirement savings. The amount you should have saved, may, be held closely to the numbers I just shared, or your unique circumstances may call for something radically different. But no matter your needs and goals for retirement, an experienced financial service professional will be able to help you and help you consider the tools and options that reflects what you need, not what anyone else needs. Think about that.
Yeah, good point. And it's more about what you need than what you want, and that's where you come in. So when discussing all of this with a financial professional, what are some of the things that are likely to come up when you're talking about saving for retirement?
No, great question. If you and let's say your financial service professionals are in the early days of your partnership, well, they'll likely begin with simply getting to know you. They'll want to know about your family, your career, your background, and your retirement goals. Now, while these questions are mainly intended to help your financial service professional get to know you as a person, your answers will actually help them craft your financial strategy. After that, your financial service professional will bring up possible ideas and solutions, some of which you may not be familiar with. For example, if you're still fairly new, let's say, to your career and are feeling pessimistic about how much you have saved, a financial service professional may be able to show you that with the power of compounding interest and the appropriate adjustments along the way, you may be far closer to your ideal amount of savings than you believe. Now, if you are new to or are completely unfamiliar with investing, some financial service professionals will be able to help you navigate that world with the goal of building retirement savings and income. Perhaps most importantly, you should have a financial service professional who's willing to tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the trick, right? And I think that
Yes.
last part especially, that's especially important.
Hmm.
I really do. So sometimes to reach our financial goals, Albert, we need a dose of reality.
For sure. And as for specific other tips about, let's say, boosting your retirement savings, one of the simplest ways to boost your income, that could mean asking your boss for a raise, seeking out a higher paying position with the new company, or maybe taking on a second job. Now, another option is to cut back on your spending. Another place a financial service professional may be able to help. The article touts that the 50-30-20 budgeting method. With this, you spend 50% of your income on your essential expenses, 30% on things you want, and the last 20% goes into savings. Now, because taxes don't go away when you retire, preparing for retirement taxes well before you're retired is another way to protect your savings. For example, if you think you're likely be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, you may want to consider Roth accounts in which you pay the taxes now for tax-free withdrawal in the future. But let me caution you that Roths aren't the right move for everyone, especially for those likely to be in a lower tax bracket during retirement. So make sure you're working closely with your financial service professionals on all things Roths and know your numbers.
Yeah, yeah, know your numbers. That's another big one, right?
Mhm.
So basically, speaking of numbers, let's give your number, Albert, so our listeners and viewers out there can call you to set up that no charge, no obligation consultation.
Yes, folks, you can give me a call at 586-752-7008, or as always, visit me online at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com, Kaizen, and we can discuss how to get your numbers and make sure you're on the right track for your retirement goals.
All right. Well, you started off by talking about Gen X
Mhm.
and where that generation stands right now in terms of retirement savings. And then you moved into a little bit about how much different age groups currently have saved for retirement. What do you have for us next?
All right, well, let's continue today's retirement theme by another U.S. News and World article titled Why You Should Plan to Work Until Age 70. Now, the
Mm.
article has useful information for young workers as well as workers who are much closer to retirement. For example, I recommend not reading too much into that headline, which, while certainly attention grabbing, is far too pessimistic, in my opinion. The headline should actually be Why Planning to Work Until You're 70 Could Make You More Excited About Retirement, Tony.
Well, that's an interesting point. We've had good conversations on past shows about how a lot of your clients that you've worked with are excited to even work until they're 70 because they enjoy their job
Yes.
and their colleagues or the social
Mhm.
aspect of it. And maybe they're in good health, but not everyone who works until 70 does so because they have to, right? Hopefully, there are a lot of those people out there that work because they want to. They love their
Yeah,
jobs.
that's absolutely right. And even if you keep going to the office until you're 70 for reasons that aren't about money, you'll likely still see some very positive financial impacts from that decision. That means that if you keep working because you're healthy and feeling good and because you're still fulfilled by your work, those positive economic effects are just the icing on the cake. Now, one of the biggest benefits to working longer is that your monthly Social Security payment will be larger. And then those payments increase by about 8% for every day you hold off filing between the ages of basically your full retirement and 70. And then let's look at some real numbers. Now, if you'd be in line to, let's say, receive about $750 a month at age 62 for Social Security, which is earlier than the full retirement age, you get about $1,000 a month at age 66. Now, obviously, that's a pretty good raise. But if you wait to file until you're 70, your monthly payment would jump to $1,320 a month. Now, additionally, the impact of your annual cost of living adjustments, or COLA, would be bigger because those annual inflations determined increases are calculated using your current payment amount. So if your health is good, you have a family history of longevity, and you're still happy to work, well, waiting until you're 70 to file for Social Security may be a really smart move. Now, bear in mind, though, that once you hit 70, your benefits stop increasing, which means there's no financial incentive, at least in terms of Social Security, to keep working after you turn 70. So Social Security is an essential piece of retirement for many Americans, even those who have other dependable sources of retirement income. And accordingly, I'd recommend working with a financial service professional when factoring Social Security into your broader financial strategy, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. We've talked about Social Security a lot on past shows. I know this is something that's really important to you because it's the foundation of retirement income planning. And it's something we all earn throughout our careers. So you want to make sure you maximize your Social Security benefits.
Yeah. In addition, targeting age 70 for retirement, well, it opens a larger window to save money too, because your salary will almost certainly be maybe at its apex when you are in your 60s. And because your children will also likely be grown and out of the house, or at least close to it, you may be able to dedicate more money to your retirement accounts. And if you can pay off your mortgage during your 60s, you're positioned to save even more money for retirement. And let's also recall that older workers receive special tax breaks because of the catch-up contribution rule this year. Those 50 and older may contribute $8,000 to an IRA, which is $1,000 more than younger workers, according to the U.S. News article titled "How to Take Advantage of 401k Catch-up Contributions." Now, that same catch-up opportunity exists with 401ks as well. This year, those 50 and older may kick in an extra $7,500 to their 401k for a total of $30,500 for the year, Tony.
Yeah. Wow. So those catch-up rules sound like something people in 50 and older should definitely be discussing with a financial services professional.
Definitely. And remember, holding off on retirement until you're 70 also means you can benefit from compound interest, because by waiting to retire, you're also delaying when you begin withdrawals from your retirement and savings account. And that means the assets in those accounts, well, they keep growing. But make sure you discuss required minimum distribution rules with your financial service professional as well. These rules determine when you have to begin taking withdrawals from your accounts without facing penalties and also potentially negative tax implications.
Right. And the recent federal legislation changed those RMD ages, right? And
Yes.
they're going to go up again in the future. So working with somebody like yourself is going to help you avoid getting taken by surprise by these changes.
Yes. Like I said, know your numbers. And then lastly, pushing off your retirement till, let's say, you're 70 means you'll have a shorter retirement to pay for. While none of us knows how long we'll live, the sooner we retire, the more non-working years we'll have to pay for. And if you retire at 62 and let's say live until you're 90, well, that's 28 years of retirement that you'll need to have enough money for. But if you retire when you're 70, well, you'll need enough assets to cover only 20 years of your retirement. Let me also note that retiring at 70 isn't right for everyone. There are many reasons to retire much earlier. Perhaps your finances are in excellent order, or perhaps you're just ready to move on from a career, well, you no longer enjoy. If that's the case, you should discuss retiring at 62 or 65, or maybe even younger, with your financial services professional.
Right. Well, great show today, Albert. A lot of great information. Do you have anything else for us before we wrap up?
Folks, if you want to learn more about maximizing Social Security or the gaps for Generation Xers, listeners, visit my website at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com. That's Kaizen, Kaizen, or call my office at 586-752-7008 and discuss how we can answer your questions about saving for retirement, your overall retirement goal, or any other elements of your financial strategy. Remember, it's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you've worked so hard for so you can own your retirement.
All right. Well, that does it for today's episode of Own Your Retirement with our host, Albert Lalonde.
Take care, everyone.